I've heard from teachers, hey, like the students, they're like struggling with motivation. I don't know if they'll be able to do this. But if they're like me without something to work towards, it's like you can hardly even get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
But what teachers have found that said like, hey, we started working on this and everyone is getting so excited. Because not only do they have like something musical to work towards, but they have something to work on with their friends, like with their community. Because for many students, the band is their family. Like that's their favorite class. Those are the kids and the friends they're looking forward to seeing. And if that just like disappears, it really like leaves a big hole in their heart.
This is Aaron Noe with wingconductor.org. I know you're going to love our next guest. You may not recognize the name Christian Amonson. However, I know you will recognize his work. Christian was a lead recording engineer in Washington, D.C. for the United States Marine Band, the President's Own. One of his last projects was working with a world-renowned band and recording all of the Sousa marches. He has also had the opportunity to work with world-class ensembles like the Chicago Symphony. He's an amazing recording engineer. Just before things began to shut down around the U.S., Christian moved to L.A. to develop his recording business, Arts Laureate. None of us could have foreseen the closure of everything. Since that time, Christian and his teams at Arts Laureate have been providing an amazing service to directors all over the U.S. and developing virtual ensembles for choirs, bands, and jazz ensembles. In a recent interview with Matt Engelson, we talked about the virtual band experience. One of my biggest takeaways was realizing how in-depth a project like this really is. Many of you may be looking to give your students the virtual band experience. However, a project of that magnitude may be too in-depth for you. Christian and his team at Arts Laureate have a solution for you. I do want to mention that after the interview, Christian and I were talking about the business. He is far too humble to bring it up himself, but I thought it was important to point out that during all of this, during the closures, Christian has been going without a salary so that he can pay his employees. Not only do these projects provide an amazing virtual experience for students, it is also helping a lot of people in the music industry. Christian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Aaron. It's great to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you as well. So this has sucked for everybody. I think I'm pretty safe in saying that. How are things going for you? Tell us a little bit about, because I mentioned that you were the one of the top recording artists for the President's Own. You recorded a ton of their, we've recently gotten out of the Sousa March Madness event, and you were involved with a ton of those projects and everything. What have you been doing in the interim, like since that point up until now?
So yeah, I served in the Marine Band from 2014 until 2019. I got out last year with the idea that like, okay, I'm going to be more available to groups around the country. I'm going to be able to travel around to work with other bands, to work with other orchestras and choirs, and just sort of make that level of recording accessible to other people, and to have just also a different style and pace of life, which is great. And you can book concerts and CD sessions, but if school is out, you can't do any of those events.
Right.
So for me, when school gets canceled, that means, hey, no festival recordings, no assessment recordings, no pre-assessment recordings, no CD recordings, no recording sessions, no concert videos. So all of these events that schools normally put on that I also participate in get canceled for me and get canceled for my team as well, because I don't work alone. I have a company called Arts Laureate, and we have a regular team of recording engineers that are active in like recording and mixing every day, hitting the road, going up to like UMass Amherst, or going down to like Arkansas Tech, or going to Chicago or Kansas City. Like, we are making recordings happen wherever it is. But that means when things get canceled, not only does it like a risk for like my income and like my schedule, it means like the whole team, like we don't know what to do. So we talked with teachers, we talked with the people that we're in touch with every day, and we said, what what do you need? What can we do? And they said, we really need to keep teaching somehow. We really need to keep performing somehow. We really need something to work towards, and we need something to share. And the answer for that is really, okay, we need to figure out how to do these virtual groups.
Yeah.
And we're already working on audio and video every day. So instead of just coming in person to work on audio and video, I try to think of like, okay, how can I make this process easy and accessible for teachers? Because
Yeah.
what breaks my heart more than like not having work to do is knowing that students can't look back on what they've been working on for 4 years or all year or 3 months. Like, to just see all that disappear is heartbreaking to me.
Yeah.
So I just like had this fire to be like, okay, we got to figure out how we can do this. Like, how can we make it accessible to schools, and how can I make it easy on teachers who are having to figure out like a bazillion new things right now. Like, so that was the goal, and that's what we moved towards.
And that's awesome. And, I think the initial success is, we've seen, and I want to bring up I'm going to share my screen with everybody because I want to show them your site. We've got the virtualchoir.net, which is kind of the where you guys started, and you guys were working with a lot of great choirs and had some phenomenal results with that. I mean, just as you scroll down, you can see some of the great comments there. So tell us a little bit about some of the groups that you've worked with. Your background is pretty awesome that you got there on the screen behind you. Tell us some of the groups that you've been working with lately.
So, of course, like the first groups that were ready to jump on this were the groups that knew about Eric Whitaker's virtual choir, and that's been going on for like, they've had 5 different iterations on it. They're on like number 6 or 7 right now. So choir teachers were ready to jump on it. And we have started with just like high schools, and then we have groups like the West Point Glee Club and little private charter schools. And we have groups like the USC Chamber Singers in California and the LA Master Chorale. And then on the East Coast, it was like the Choral Art Society of Washington, and the Washington Chorus is now working on groups as well. But the same day I announced virtualchoir.net, I knew like, okay, this is like, it shouldn't just be choirs. Everybody should be doing this. So I went ahead and sent out emails to all of the band directors that I know. I started posting on Facebook, and I made a completely different, not a whole new web page. I just made a different post. I made sure it showed band instruments and it said virtual band, because I wanted to plant those seeds, and I wanted to make sure that people knew that it's not just virtual choirs. I just wanted to like pick one name. So virtualchoir.net is it. But I love band. I started in band. I served with the Marine Band, and this is what we want to be doing. So I opened that door, and requests started coming in. And right behind me, you'll see this is the University of Illinois marching band. And they submitted a video. They have about 100 players in the group. Might have been like 140. There's a lot. So in addition to making like a big grid with everybody in it, we also make grids that like feature individual sections. And as we go through and like present the piece, you get to see different people up close, but also get the experience of seeing the whole group. So every piece is like both a geometric and a musical puzzle. Like, how can we give people the experience of seeing the whole group, but also having a chance to really zoom in on the musical elements and the individuals that they want to see.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think it's phenomenal. And, I was really excited to see it because, I know your work from working with the President's Zone. I mean, we've all listened to those, that recording period that you were involved with them. I mean, it was phenomenal. That project with, recording all the Sousa compositions. I mean, those are going to be, those are definitely legacy recordings. Those are things that people are going to be coming back to for decades, if not centuries, to what was being put out during that time.
Absolutely. So, yeah. And that's why they're doing it.
Yeah. And so, when I saw this, this is a great way for band directors to get a professional of the highest level into their band program immediately right now. And, tell us what it looks like for a band director. If somebody is kind of toying around with this because, right now we're looking at the end of the school year, and we're trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out, what that is going to look like for our bands. Uh, our seniors are missing out on graduation. They're missing out on their final concerts.
Mm-hmm.
They are, there's so many things, and not just our seniors, but that final concert is so meaningful to the entire
Yeah.
band program. And that's a summation of everything that we put into for the entire school year. It's a time of celebration, to
Mm-hmm.
recognize students with the awards and all that other stuff. And that's something that we're all missing out on at this point. So, a project like this may be a good end of year project that has a lot of meaning for the band program. So walk us through, what happens if a band director wants to take this on. They know they don't have the technical ability to do it on their own, but they want to
Mm-hmm.
have this type of experience for the students. What does that look like?
Mm-hmm. Before I talk about what it looks like, I just want to thank you for bringing up like how meaningful this can be, because I've heard from teachers, hey, like the students, they're like struggling with motivation. I don't know if they'll be able to do this. But if they're like me without something to work towards, it's like you can hardly even get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
But what teachers have found that said like, hey, we started working on this and everyone is getting so excited. Because
That's
not
awesome.
only do they have like something musical to work towards, but they have something to work on with their friends, like with
Right.
their community. Because for many students, the band is their family. Like that's their favorite class. Those are the kids and the friends they're looking forward to seeing. And if that just like disappears, it really like leaves a big hole
Yeah.
in their heart. So like between the music and the community and the memories, like this is something you should absolutely do.
Right.
And I'm here to make that process easy. If you
Yeah.
want to try it on your own, absolutely give it a try. And if it gets derailed, just give me a call. So mostly I get emails and they come in and say, hey, we're working on these pieces, or we're thinking about doing this piece. How does it start? And so what many groups have done is they say, hey, there's this recording from J.W. Pepper, or there's this recording from our archive, and we like the tempos in this, and we think we can play along with it. So what we'll do is we'll add a click track to that, and then we'll also add a sync point at the beginning. So everybody goes 1, 2, 3, clap, and they like, pick up their instruments, loosen up, get focused, and then there's a count in of 2 bars.
Okay.
And then they go ahead and play. Or they don't play. Maybe they wait till later in the piece.
Yeah.
But that way on our end, we have the ability to easily see, okay, where does this piece start? Let's sync everybody up. And everybody's playing on headphones to their to the recording that they're listening to. And even if they can't hear their like individual, inner voice in the recording, they have the click. So that really glues them together.
Right.
And when we build the click, we're actually like following the rubatos, and we're adjusting this click to like fit the piece. It's not as easy as just picking a tempo in the program and letting it go. We're picking individual beats that everyone can hear, because we want this to be musical. It's not mechanical. I know some people are upset. They're like, oh, that's not a band. This is like people playing alone in their room. And I'm like, whoa, this is a huge musical undertaking. And every step of the way, it's mostly musical decisions. Like we're making the tech stuff easy, but the rest of it, like, okay, what piece do you want to do? Like, okay, how do we get the click to be musical? All right, how do we get the students to be able to hear it so that they can do the music? And just playing by yourself without a section, like, can transform the way you're thinking about your line, your playing, your tone. And I'm just going to put this out there, but when we finally get back to school, thank goodness, and hopefully that'll be sooner rather than later, knock on wood, this is something that groups should still consider, because it changes the way you think about your playing, and it puts you in a very different setting. That's different than just practicing at home. Like you are doing a performance and sending it in.
Yeah,
so,
and from a practical standpoint, I think back to some of my gigging days. I'm a good trumpet player. I'm not a great trumpet player, but some of my experiences have allowed me to play with some really great, phenomenal, true trumpet players and musicians and stuff like that. And I remember I had the opportunity to play a gig in Virginia with Eric Marienthal. And, this was several years ago. And we got to talking to him about the recording industry, and Eric has most of the Hollywood movie tracks that have saxophone, it stands a good chance that he's on that track. Everything from The Simpsons playing when the character had played the saxophone, that was him.
Yeah, Lisa.
Lisa.
Yeah.
He was one of the two guys they called for that. But the recording industry has been doing this type of stuff for years, where he'll get a call from his agent, and it'll say, I need an 8-bar sax solo, and they send him a clip. He goes to his home studio, he records the clip, uploads it to the cloud, they download it, stick it into the song wherever. So I mean, from a very practical real life experience, these kids are getting that what it looks like in the real world industry.
This is real professional experience and real professional workflows. Whether you're in a recording studio or at home, you have to be able to interact with either someone else's recording before you or play to a click, and you have to play by yourself. You can't rely on someone else to lock you into your pitch or rhythm. It's on you, and it's collaborative because you have to trust that your director and that your engineer is going to help you gel together.
Yeah.
So this is real music making, and it's the type of experience that students should have going out into the world. And it's the type of thing that will keep them connected. Imagine leaving all your best buddies in high school, but now you have hey, our quartet's going to keep playing, our quintet's going to keep playing. We already have that experience. We know how to do it. And if you're talking 10 years ago, people didn't have that experience. They didn't know how to do that. So all the folks that are 30 years old, 40 years old, they're all learning that now too. But now students are going to have that as a foundational skill, which they should have even when we get back to the classroom.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. So when you were talking us through that, I think it's really cool that, you guys are making a concerted effort of working with these directors to add stuff to it to make their experience as successful as possible by adding those click tracks, really identifying the rubato and where those beats fall with the tempo, the natural tempo changes of music. But you've kind of brought up another thing, something that's on the minds of everybody, especially, going into the fall, is the copyright and stuff like that, and getting permissions and stuff like that. Now, are you guys working just with public domain stuff, or do you help the directors if they have pieces of music that they want to put into this type of program, is that something that you can assist them with also?
Yes, indeed. So they usually tell us what piece they're interested in. I do just a little bit of research to see if it's already been recorded and published before with the recording. The trickiest part, if no one's ever done a piece, then you need to get explicit permission to do it. And we have just a couple of pieces with that. And then we also have pieces that said hey, we made a brand new arrangement, or I know the composer, they're actually going to provide us finale tracks with click. Hey, that can really make it nice and easy. And we encourage people to make sure they stay within the boundaries of what they can do legally. So if you were to post a recording, and I'm just going to say this out here, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give you legal advice, but I can speak as someone who's been sharing recordings for 10 years. I have thousands of recordings up on YouTube, and as someone who also helped the Marine Band expand from 100 videos on their YouTube to over 1,000, and we were able to safely do that. And the thing you want to be careful about is if you ever post a recording publicly, on your department website or on your school website, or if you say I'm going to post it on Vimeo, you really need to get the publisher involved with a streaming license.
Okay.
And the easiest way to bypass that is by sticking with YouTube. YouTube has the content ID system, which is a way for publishers to participate. So they have a way to, if they want to make money or place an ad on your video, or they have a button that they can just, request to mute video or request to silence. Or request to take down. And I'll tell you what, on all the recordings I've posted, that just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen anymore. So we are happy to stick with YouTube. Don't post it just to Facebook because there's no way for the publisher to be involved. As an additional barrier, Arts Laureate, virtualchoir.net, we also have a YouTube channel. So for many groups, it's hey, my school doesn't have something, and we're kind of still nervous about this. Can you act as our recording publisher? And in that case, we are the publisher of the recording. We're not
Okay.
the publisher of the music composition. That still stays with the publisher and the composer. But we publish the recording itself on YouTube. And from there, great, you now have a YouTube link that you can embed on your website, share in emails. Parents and family can send to grandparents and to friends and cousins, and you can post that on Facebook. So this is all just part of making the process easy and legal, because I don't want you to be paralyzed by the tech. I don't want you to be paralyzed by the copyright questions. I just want you to get making music with the students. So, you know, tell me what piece you want to do. I'll help guide the process. And then at the end, you can choose, like, okay, do you want me to take care of it, or do you want to take care of it? And we're happy to go either way.
Awesome. That's good. That's good to know. What are tell us a little bit about some of the projects. I pulled up the website. You got the University of Illinois back there. What are some of the things that maybe you're proud of that you've done so far?
So we just finished up this week St. Christopher's School in Richmond, Virginia. They did the Great Gate of Kiev, just a small portion of pictures at exhibition. And these are young players, and there aren't that many of them. And they did a great job, like just playing by themselves. And we get in there and we tighten it up, get everybody like all the notes as close as possible, and we balance it, and then we send it on. It's like, wow, like this is amazing. Like, and it means so much to them, and it means so much to the community, so much to the families. Like, this is something that we're excited to be a part of. So it's not just about like the biggest groups. It's not about your University of Illinois. It's not just about like your West Points. If you are a middle school director, if you have like elementary schoolers, if you have like 4 different levels of high school bands, and you're just thinking like, oh, I don't know if I want to do something with like my lowest band, like just go for it. If you can get support from the school, or you have a budget, like you're gonna be surprised at the result, and you're gonna, like, more importantly than that, the students are gonna have something to work towards and have something to look back on. So I'm proud that people are taking a risk and going for it, and that group really like raised my spirits to work on.
So now, is it something that you feel comfortable talking about the investment that something like this is for a typical band project or something? What does that look like from a budgetary standpoint for a director that's considering this?
So we have a set fee structure that makes it really easy to do the math. So for any school, it's a $500 setup fee. And that setup fee covers you for this school year and for next school year. So like whatever, you know, if we're still on lockdown in the fall, like you're just going to be able to participate in the fall and in the winter and in the spring. And from there, we have a per video submission fee, which right now is $18. So you just add up how many videos you're going to send in, multiply that times 18, and then you know, okay, that's how much my video is going to cost.
Okay.
You don't have to like.
Now that's for, say, if we have a band of, you know, a wind ensemble with 60 players, that means that it's $18 for each of those individual players that are submitting those recordings. Is that?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah. So 60 times 18, you're going to looking at just over $1,000.
Okay.
And some of the responses that I've gotten is like, oh my goodness, my school could never do that. Like that's our whole budget for the year.
Yeah.
And then just yesterday I was asked, how can you do this so cheaply?
Right.
Like we've already talked with 5 other people, and this is like, you are just a fraction of them. So
that's kind of where I fall into, man. I mean, you could, you know, from even with, you know, you could have kids that just want to do this on their own, and they can put together $20 a person to, you know, put together their whatever they're working on, you know, whether it's the jazz ensemble or the concert band. I mean, that's very reasonable.
Yeah, and for anybody who's watching this in the fall, I'm going to apologize in advance if the rate is not the same. We are stepping out boldly to where we haven't gone before, and where like teachers haven't gone before. I talked with teachers. I said, you know, what do you think is going to make this a no-brainer for you? And they said, hey, it costs us like $16, $17 to audition, like for Allstate, and that's just an audition. We don't even get anything. So I said, okay, well, let me set that as like a per student fee. But I was also like, yeah, I don't think that's enough. And there's a lot of, the first time you do a project is always like the hardest because you're just trying to
Yeah.
figure out how it works. There's a lot more questions, a lot more back and forth. So that setup fee sort of covers the awkward start. And
Yeah.
it's also an encouragement. I want to make sure that if you are a band director and you're like, I don't think I can get the department to approve $500, you can go to the choral director and say, hey, can we split this? And then you can go to the orchestra director and say, hey, do you want to get in on this too? So it's a way for you as a music department to say, like, great, we're just going to buy into this. And now we have the ability to make this part of our curriculum going forward, just on a per student fee.
So that $500 registration is for the school and not
That's
necessarily.
exactly right.
That's great. That's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic.
Yeah,
So, I
and
mean,
so
if you,
we have some schools where everybody's participating. We have, like, you know, the jazz band gets in, and then the Middle Eastern music ensemble gets in, and then like the stage craft gets in on
yeah,
it, and then they're saying, oh, well, our dancers want to do something too. So it's nice to see people getting excited as a community and then getting involved.
yeah.
And you know, we might have to change. We're going to reevaluate at the end of the school year. But right now, we're just focused on getting the videos out and making sure our time as a staff gets paid, and that we're able to put bread on our table and to put music out to the world.
Yeah, no, I think it's I think it's very reasonable, and especially you know, I know it's hard for everybody right now. I mean, there's a lot of people realistically out of work and stuff like that. But uh, when you think about it, you know, going back before all this stuff happened, I was talking with a orchestra director about a fundraiser, Cami Tadoldi up at Foxborough,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and in her community for one of her fundraisers, she had a donor in the area that gave a matching donation. And, you know, there is somebody in your community that you have a relationship with that can help you and support and, you know, make a $500 donation to the band program, to the
Mm-hmm.
entire music program. And there are still people like that, even with all this stuff going on, that know when kids are involved in something like this, people are generous. Don't be afraid to ask for that help and everything. And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to put together a full wind ensemble with a recording artist who has experience not just with the President's Own, but I mean, you've recorded with Chicago Symphony. You've
Mm-hmm.
done, you know, I mean, your resume is the top of the top, and you know, for $1,000 recording with somebody of your caliber, I mean, that's phenomenal.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that. And to all the teachers out there, I just want to say, don't be afraid to ask your administration. Thus far, we haven't had anybody come back and say, hey, my school isn't up for it, or my principal said no. Like, they're, even if they didn't seem like they were on your side before, chances are they want you to do something, and
Yeah.
they want this something to bring the school together, and something to engage with the community. Like, just go ahead and ask with confidence, and chances are you're going to get the full support that you need.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's a good point, because you know right now the administration is hurting with uh, trying to put a positive light on what is happening in their schools, and
mhm,
when you can do, you know, even starting out, if it's you know, putting together some of the school fight song, doing the alma mater, having the choir get involved with submitting the alma mater as a way to get the school board on board, or
mhm.
the administration. I mean, there's positive ways to get that support, and they are looking for ways to kind of spend this to make that connection with the community. And yeah, I think you're on to something there. Yeah. That's
Yeah, so
cool.
we're excited about it, and we may have to adjust in the future, but we're going to keep the same model because we don't want you to worry about whether you're picking a 2-minute piece or a 5-minute piece. The bulk of our work is in just trying to get the number, like wrangle the number of videos and to sync it all. Most pieces are between 2 and 5 minutes, and we try and keep the process easy by providing you with a Dropbox link. So
Okay.
if you don't have a way at your school to be accepting tons of files from students, don't worry about it. We're going to give you a single link that says submit your video. And from there, the students just click on that and it goes into a Dropbox folder and you're able to see it. But you don't need Dropbox. The students don't need Dropbox. You don't need an app, a password, or a login. You just click the link and click the file on your phone or on your tablet or your laptop. And from there, you can review everyone's video submissions. And some teachers are just getting everybody in. Like their goal is to get everyone to participate.
Yeah.
And I know some people are having a hard time at home, and that's like the teachers just want to reach out to those kids and get them involved. For other teachers, they're like, hey, all 50 kids submitted, I'm watching everyone, giving them feedback. And now if you could just like set those videos aside, we're all going to do a take number 2. So everyone has had a chance to practice, a chance to incorporate the teacher's remarks, and then they submit it again. And once the teacher looks at it and says, hey, all our videos are in here, go ahead and edit, that's when we jump back in. We start the process of editing. Mm-hmm.
I want to point out that, you know, our community as musicians, our large community is a lot bigger than our what we see in the classroom, our private instructor staff. You know, there's a lot of people that are connected to our band community. And you mentioned it earlier that, you know, part of what you guys do with Arts Laureate is you record the all-state, you
Mm-hmm.
record the all-district, you
Mm-hmm.
record, you know, all of these things for the band community. And this has had a huge impact on your business. I mean, tell us how many, when all this stuff happened, how many projects did you guys have lined up going into this that were just kind of wiped out?
Yeah. So just in the first like 2 months of cancellations, that was 69 projects canceled for us. And that ranges from like, okay, an individual high school concert to all state and all district, multi-day assessments, talking CD projects with editing involved. So the CD project would disappear and then the editing disappears. And we're talking like month-long festivals that were going to happen during the summer. So for us as a small business, as a growing business, like as a startup, those cancellations just over the span of 2 months equals to the amount that we were going to make on payroll for the whole year.
Yeah.
So it's not just like, okay, we've got a coast for 2 months. It's what are we going to pay ourselves at all? Like, how are we going to keep our jobs and keep working? And so that was a real challenge, but also a real motivation, because like you sink or you swim. So we're really happy to be swimming with you know, our favorite clients and new friends, and to be continuing to make music. And yeah, we're really happy to be doing this on so many levels. And it's really scary as a freelancer, because we're not employed by the school district, so there's no steady check that's going to come in, and there's no like backup plan. Like this is just it. And I know there are many other people in that situation, ranging from like stage managers to lighting crew, to copyists and composers who had their trips canceled, and even folks who were retired but counting on the income to be a judge or an adjudicator at one of these assessments. Like some of those folks like spend 2 months just doing that, or conducting an all county or an all regional band. Like those are just gone. So there are a lot of people that for whom they don't have a regular job that do participate in those. And it's an extra scary time for those people. And I really keep them in mind. And we try and check in on those people. If you know them, if you have someone in that position, go ahead and like send them a note and see how they're doing.
Yeah. Great points. And I think it's, I hope that our community can really support you and Arts Laureate during all of this. And you know what directors get in return. I mean, like I said, there's nobody better in the business, especially for band recording, than what you guys are doing out there. And it's just absolutely phenomenal. Christian, thank you so much for joining us. Before we head out, tell us where we can find you.
So you can find our new virtual performance initiative at virtualchoir.net. Again, that's virtualchoir.net, but don't let the name fool you. We are all about band. And the rest of the team, if you want to see what we're up to normally, the company is Arts Laureate. And if you want to just get in touch with me personally, look up seeingsound.com or go ahead and find me on Facebook, Christian Amonson.
Awesome. Christian, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming and sharing with us.
Thank you, Aaron. Really appreciate all your questions.